Broadcasting from Baltimore, Maryland, this is 5x3 Radio, where strength is for everyone. I'm your host, Emily Sokolinski, owner of 5x3 Training, a strength and conditioning gym in Baltimore, along with my co-host, Rebecca Fishburne, founder of Cornerstone Strength Maryland. Each week, Rebecca and I will discuss the ins and outs of strength training, why there is a no one-size-fits-all approach, and why strength is so important in our daily lives. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now, on with the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to 5x3 Radio. Emily here, not along with Rebecca, by herself today. But I do have a very special guest. Esther Rechthand is joining us today. She is the wife of Manny Rechthand, that many of you know, who is our 5x3 powerlifter. And Esther has said yes to me to be interviewed about her strength training journey and her diagnosis with osteopenia and what she has done to reverse that diagnosis and strengthen her bones and strengthen her body and become the very active, or continue to be the very active person that she is. So very happy to have Esther join us today. I'm not going to say much more. I'm going to turn it right over to her and let her tell her story. Welcome, Esther.
So hi, I'm Esther Rechthand. I am age 71, a grandmother of many children, many grandchildren that I take care of, ranging in age from 2 years to 18. And I am active. I'm an active grandmother, and I'm just, yeah, pretty, I'm not working. I am retired, but I have a lot of outside interests. I play piano, and I like to be outdoors. I like to be active. I like to be busy. And I joined 5x3 about 6 years ago. It was during COVID. We were looking for, my husband and I were looking for we knew we needed a new form of exercise. We had done, I started out at curves actually years ago, and then I injured myself. So I left that. And then, did like Lynn Bricks, I'm not sure if I should say the name, but anyway, the big box gyms, and we did that. And then we did CrossFit, which was really kind of cool, especially for our age. So we were the 10 o'clock crew. We were 50 and older. We were a fun group of like 6 to 8 adults, women and men, and it was very social. We really had a fabulous time. But then, unfortunately, COVID hit, and so we disbanded, and and then we discovered 5x3 and Emily, and we love lifting. We love Emily, and we love lifting. And I was not happy with that diagnosis, and the recommendation was to eat a healthy diet, maybe go on some vitamin D, and do some resistance training. But I really didn't know what that meant, honestly. And at the time, I was doing some CrossFit work. And basically, that was a lot of really heavy cardio and just feeling totally spent at the end of like 45 minutes or an hour, and like going home feeling, wow, this is great. I can't move. I'm exhausted. I want to die. um,
So let me interrupt you right there. So you were diagnosed with, so you basically had osteopenia, or you were normal to osteopenia, or osteopenia to normal in your
right.
late 50s. By the time you were in your 60s, so 8 years ago, today it's 2026 now, this is 2018, that's when you were diagnosed with
Correct.
osteoporosis. Okay. And then you started CrossFit. So now we're at like in 2018,
Right.
2019.
So,
You're doing
so I'm, still doing CrossFit, and it's a mix of things. So we did a little bit of lifting, but um, I would call it's not wasn't real lifting. It was like semi-lifting. It's nothing like, doing the training like that I'm doing now. Um, and we didn't do it on a consistent basis. So mostly we did, as I said, mostly cardio, doing the rower, running, doing box jumps. I mean, who needs to do box jumps, in your late 50s or 60s? And also, where am I running to? So unfortunately, I injured myself, and that's when I tore a meniscus in my knee. And that was 2019. Uh, and it was really just as COVID was coming on. And well, I had to stop, my training. And I didn't get diagnosed at first. I just assumed I had a bad knee and I had to, give it a rest. Because when we get an injury, we rest. And it was painful and the knee was swollen. So I didn't do a lot for it. Eventually, I did go to PT for it, and I did some really boring exercises, I'll be honest with you. And they really didn't help. And when I said something to the physical therapist, he goes, just do more of them. And I'm thinking to myself, that doesn't really make any sense. Because if it doesn't work, the difference between 5 and 10 knee raises or bridges is not gonna cut it. So eventually I did go to a knee doctor, and I got myself imaged and we found that it was torn. Now, many times you don't have to, operate on a torn meniscus, but mine was not getting better. And I decided that I had to push the doctor. He was very conservative. I had to push him to have it repaired, because I just couldn't be like that anymore. And then COVID hit and we couldn't do anything. So I did again, PT over, Zoom, like, we're talking now. And I wasn't really very happy. And, but there was nothing we could do because all the gyms were still closed at that time. I live in a nice neighborhood, so we could go walking. I have a bicycle, could do a little bike riding. But then when the gyms opened up, and my husband Manny, who's very well known on this website, uh, did his research. He decided that, weightlifting, was the way to go, for our age. And I'm not sure what his motivation was. Mine, I joined because I knew that I needed to strengthen my bones. He just liked the exercise, the training for what it was. And he's, as we know, he's just went overboard, but okay, we'll leave him out of the picture. Came in,
That's
uh,
for another. That's for another
I came in
time.
screaming and yelling because honestly, I was afraid and I thought I would hurt myself. And I already had
Sure.
one bad knee, and I was worried. I really didn't know what this was going to do, but I knew that it was hardcore resistance training. And I also had years ago gone to a PT for another, I had a shoulder issue years and years ago, and he happened to be a friend of ours. And so the very first time when I had my DEXA scan, he said to me, oh, yeah, my wife has it too. It's just something you have forever. She's doing kickboxing, that's what she's doing. And I was like really bummed because he intimated that, like, that's it. Like, you're never going to get better again.
So not he wasn't referring to the shoulder. He was
Yeah,
referring
right.
to
In other
your
words, I
actual
went for my
scan. Like,
shoulder, but at the time I said, hey, I'd had my DEXA
right.
scan. I've got, osteopenia.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, all you women
Yeah.
get it. We're short Jewish women. Yeah.
Wow.
Right. I was
Wow.
really
Okay.
shocked.
Okay. That is a shocker because I mean, how
Oh
long ago was
God, I
that?
would say more than 10 years ago.
So, I think that in 10 years, I think a lot has changed, obviously, right? 10 years ago, it was kind of like brushed off as every woman's going to
But
develop
white Jewish
osteopenia,
short
osteoporosis.
woman,
Kind of like,
Ashkenazi descent.
that's what you're going to do. Yeah, it's going to happen. You're small. That's what it is. Just, it is what it is. Take a pill, take some vitamin D and live with it. But as we know now, 10 years later, that
Yeah, it's
is,
probably even more
we
than
can't,
10 years, but
scroll past anything on Instagram that doesn't say, these are your bones. This is what happens to your bones when you don't strengthen them. And you're kind of shocked, like, oh my God. But it's not fear mongering, but it is kind of this, it's definitely, I think menopause is so much more out there, right? We speak about it more. We speak about it more. Doctors are learning about it more. They're encouraging women to seek out help and start to, lift weights. So 10 years ago, it was one thing. 10 years later, now we're in a whole different
absolutely,
world. So,
yeah.
but oh, it's pretty amazing. People are kind of it's brushed off as this is what happens as you get older.
Right. And
And
so one of my visits, I'm trying to think if it was I can't remember which doctor it was, but a woman came in before me, and she was elated, absolutely elated, because she had a DEXA scan and her numbers were reversed. And she was so
Mm.
excited. I didn't know who she was. And I said, wait a minute. You have to tell me what you're saying
What you
here.
do?
You're saying that, you had osteoporosis or penia and you reversed your numbers. She goes, yes, I did it. I'm so excited. I don't know how she did it. I didn't ask, but I was like, there was hope. After that, there was hope.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've seen pictures, they always show you these horrible pictures of what your bones look like. And it's really scary to think that that's what your skeleton looks like. It's bony. It's like a chicken bone that you that you chewed on. And that's what's holding
Right.
up your
Right.
body. Oh my God. And they at the same time when they do the DEXA scan, they also do a risk of fracture, a percentage, and a risk of fall.
Mm-hmm.
So mine were very low. So medicine was never recommended for me. But I was determined I wasn't going to go on any of that kind of medicine. First of all, it would wreck my stomach. And then, who wants to go on medicine? I wouldn't do that. Anyway, so now it's 2020. The gyms have opened. It's COVID. And we have discovered Emily Sokolinsky, 5x3, who has a perfect setup, a small gym with doors on both ends. It was freezing cold in October and November. And you set us up with Jay, who was a sweet, sweet um, coach. And it was just the two, it was just, me and Manny and Jay. And it was absolutely perfect. Except we had to wear winter coats and I had gloves and warmers because it
For
was
that.
freezing. So slowly, slowly, we got into it. And then, so, so now every 2 years I get a DEXA scan. And now so I guess so I had one in 2020. I
Mm-hmm.
think I was penia. I think I was back to penia, which was good, right? Um, and I'd only, done a little, 6 months maybe. I'd only done a few months with you. Um, but the numbers were better. That was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The osteoporosis, first of all, didn't spread and actually got better because I think there's two or three places that you're imaged. And then 2 years later in 2022, I mean, the numbers were even better. And my primary care doctor is a woman who's very much into health,
Mm-hmm.
the Mediterranean diet. And I think Manny and I actually encouraged her to start doing resistance training on her own. She happens to be of Asian descent, and she's also small. So the
Mm-hmm.
last visit when I went to her, she actually had she says, these are my dumbbells, So in between patients, she's working with her dumbbells, and which is really very, very, very funny. But she goes, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. And so
Mm-hmm.
every 2 years, I get a DEXA scan. I'm still in penia, and I'm hoping it'll, come back to normal. But every 2 years, the numbers get less and less and less. It's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So just for the
Mm-hmm.
record, I did
Mm-hmm.
injure the other knee. I did have another meniscus tear.
Yes, yes, you
So
might want to
it's been
mention
a
that.
bumpy
Yeah.
road because, you start lifting, you get to a certain place and something happens. And even though you have to backslide and do lower weights, as long as you just stay consistent and lifting, it doesn't really matter how heavy you lift. You just got to keep on lifting. Don't get discouraged, you'll come back. And then I had my wrist, I had carpal tunnel surgery, and I'm almost back. It's been maybe, I don't know how many months, 6 months, maybe 7 months.
Yeah. Not
And
even,
I'm
yeah, not even a
almost back
year.
to where I was before I started. So you just have to start lifting. That's all. Just do it. Just do it.
So So talk a little bit about what your program looks like. So when you left CrossFit, so you start. So CrossFit was kind of a combination of cardio and lifting weights, but more emphasis on obviously the conditioning component, right? You kind of like the watts, the workout of the day. So you mentioned like there wasn't any consistency with actually the actual strength training. You did some deadlifting here and there. You did some benching, maybe some pressing. What's your program look like what's your program? How's your program evolved over the 6 years? I mean, evolved over, it really hasn't, I guess, evolved that much. It's been pretty consistent as far as the training that you've been doing. But because we've had some bouts of, you know, uh, knee issues here and there and having to kind of like pull back on the squatting or,
Shoulder, right?
you've got a little bit of frozen shoulders. So we had to, use different bars. But talk a little bit about what your program looks like. What are you doing that has allowed you to see those numbers
move towards normal from osteoporosis to osteopenia towards normal? What's
All
your
right.
program look
So
like?
when I first come into the gym, I started doing a little conditioning because for me, I need to warm up my body a little. I just can't come in and just get to the bar and just get under it and start lifting. And especially because I have bad knees, um, I'm very careful to still keep some of that PT in play. So because
Right.
I have a anatomy that is not, I'm very bow-legged, and so the all my weight goes inside internally. In
Which I was going to say probably has contributed, unfortunately,
a-
to the knees.
absolutely,
So
and the tears.
I think I think the meniscus tear originally was something you possibly had done in CrossFit, box jumping or whatnot. The other tear probably just was as a result of compensating for that repaired knee, putting more weight on that other leg, and the fact that you are bow-legged is just kind of your body, your anatomy. It is what it is, right? And you work with it, but probably most likely it kind of there was some contribution,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
to that.
The other discouraging, besides that PT from years ago, is that my knee surgeon, after my follow-up, said, your knees look great. They look really good. You have good range of motion. And I said, well, when can I get back to lifting? And he goes, well, you can't lift heavy anymore, ever. And I'm like, what? Like my face, like, no.
What does that
What do you
mean
mean I can't lift
also?
heavy? I mean, like my groceries, I lift up my grandchildren. Well, you just can't lift heavy. Now, I'm kind of meek, and I don't know him. Depending on the relationship with the doctor.
You? I mean, that you, Esther. We're not saying that you're
Well,
meek.
with this guy, I am. And I didn't really pursue it going, what does heavy mean? Okay, so heavy is heavy, I mean it's different for everybody, okay? And anyway, with your encouragement, I totally like just said that's ridiculous, okay? I'm gonna be lifting and I'll be careful. In other words, I'll be careful and make sure my form is good. So when I come into the gym, I hop on a bike for a few minutes. I'll do maybe 3 minutes on the bike. And then I do some other wall exercises and so a little bit of stretching. And I work a little with the band around the legs, do some, free squatting, with the band. Once in a while, I'll do a wall squat. And I try not, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of that little warm up. And then depending on the day, now I only do two lifts each session. Many people do all three lifts. I just do two. So we have our light days and we have our heavy days. Um, um, so on Monday, we do a light deadlift. Okay, we do a series of light deadlifts. That's to prepare me for Friday for the heavy deadlift. So I can, try to, lift what, heavy, what, whatever weight I'm working on.
Some volume, so a little
Yeah.
bit of volume day.
And then Monday usually is the bench. We also call like a light bench day. Have we been doing the Viking press also?
We'll bench and press on that day. So we'll bench, either do a volume bench or do a
Right.
Viking
So
press because of the shoulder. So we've been kind of getting your frozen shoulder
right. So I've been doing
back
like
on
pull
track.
downs, or I'll do some rows. It's been really hot, or I've been really tired, so I haven't been so good. But that's because I'm back under the bar again. So I'm really good. I think how many months was I out for? 2, 3 months more? Because I had an injured shoulder. I don't know what I did to it.
But you weren't out.
I'm
You weren't
saying not
out.
under the
You were
bar,
still
not under
well, you were
the
under the bar.
hammer
You were
bar,
under the
but I didn't
cambered
have a
bar. So you were definitely you're still squatting. So basically, you're still squatting. You're still lifting. You just had to use a different bar, especially a bar to accommodate the shoulder, which frozen shoulder, which is probably what you
oh,
had
okay.
most likely. You weren't as bad as some women, but frozen shoulder. I mean, I think any female who has any case where they have a hard time lifting their arm or reaching behind their back has developed some kind of type of frozen shoulder, and that takes time, and that is so common, unfortunately, among women and definitely among older women. And it just kind of like comes out of the blue, like
Right. And
you
it's
wake
just
up one morning
there.
and you can't move your arm. Yeah, but so we were still able to work around that by using the camber bar, which allows you to, instead of, having your hands up by your
My
shoulders,
side, yeah.
down by your waist, or by your side. Exactly. So, but you did, yeah, I mean, you spent time on your shoulder, like doing a lot of physical therapy work for yourself, and then just continuing to move, continuing to press in any way we can, in any way you could. So that's important to people to know, that it's not just the barbell that you have to use.
There's
That, there are
alternatives,
other
right?
ways of, there are alternatives, especially. Absolutely. The most important thing is that you are training,
That's the main thing.
right?
You
You
just got
are
to come
trying
into
to
the gym. You may not feel
find
good.
yeah.
We don't always feel good. Your back hurts, this hurts. You didn't sleep well the night before. Just come in and sometimes when you come in and actually start working, you really do feel better. I mean, the lifting just feels better. You just, once you move, you feel really good. Doesn't always work, but many times it does. And when you finish, you go, oh wow, I'm really glad I came in. I'm glad I didn't stay home. And when I can't
Yep.
come in for some reason, I really don't feel very good. I really feel off, because it's so much of my routine, the 3 mornings a week. Um, so a Wednesday we squat, and
Mhm.
what else do we do on Wednesdays? Oh, we
Bench.
bench. Oh,
That's our
heavy
heavy
bench,
bench day.
right. So yeah, I've really come. It's funny, you have a love-hate relationship with these lifts. So you either love them or you hate them. I don't think there's an in between. So depending on
You gotta do what you gotta
where you are in your
do.
training, or how well it's going or not going, you love it or you hate it. Okay. So I've really come to love the bench. We really worked very hard. We really worked hard on all the lifts to really get them right, or as best as we can, depending on what our bodies are doing at the time. Um, and then Fridays we do the heavy deadlift, and then we alternate the strict press and what else? Oh, the bench.
Oh,
Sometimes we do a
yep.
volume, a light
Yep.
bench. Oh, a pause
Pause
bench.
bench. Yep,
Yeah.
the light bench.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's routine. The main thing is, you just come in every day. You come in Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and whether you work out for an hour, I usually am in the gym about an hour and a half, beginning to end. If you have to leave early one day, that's fine, but I've been really consistent. And I think that's really the key, just being consistent. I mean, it's nice to say, oh, I lift X amount of weight. And you patch it, and people go, wow, that's like so amazing, right? But oh, that's just my late day, I really can lift more. Um, but just lift, you just have to lift.
Yeah, I think it's the consistency. You've been doing this now for 6 years. We're like coming up
Yeah.
into our 6th year. It'll be 6 years, like basically the end of October, right? So 6 years of training. And yes, you started very, very light, very conservatively. You had a little bit of a downturn because of the knee, got a little upset, which was totally understandable because you had your surgery prior to starting with Jay. So it does occur. I mean, I remember having my knee surgery in February, and then my knee blowing up in June of that same year, and like freaking out and being upset, and then realizing there's some exercises that just don't really work for you, right? And I remember my doctor saying to me, you're fine, your knee's fine. Don't do what hurts." And I was like, oh, okay, well, it was the physical therapy exercises that were hurting. So I'm going to stop the PT exercises. But I think you're going to have those ups and downs. And I don't think people understand that will occur, right? Just because you have the surgery doesn't mean everything's just going to go back to normal, right? You have to now rehab it. But the prehab, I think you training as long as you were prior to the second knee surgery, because the first one was before you started lifting. The second one was after you've been training for a good 2, 3
Yeah.
years, something like that. You came back, you were out 2 months. I
Yeah.
think
And
there was
even that
like
was long.
July, August, yeah, in September. But you were doing physical therapy and you took the time to really get back. So when you came back, you were back. I mean, and we started you back right away. We just started you training to a box and kind of working you back down, and you had no issues. Like your knee's
Yeah.
been doing
Yeah. Poo,
great
poo,
since
poo.
then. So I think that's the key with people, is that we shouldn't shy away from, if something bothers us, finding someone who's going to be able to work with you, right? And understand how to make modifications, and can help you continue to manage whatever's going on until things calm down, or help you to get back into your training after a surgery. I'm thrilled that you do your PT exercises every day when you come in to train. Like even though you may not quote unquote need them, they're part of your train. They're part of your warm up,
Yeah.
right? They're part of your warm up. And most people stop that, right? And I think that they kind of are necessary. You certainly can take them out of your program, but know that you can always put them back in. But if they're already there and they're kind of part of your routine and your warm up,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
better, right? They're just part of your training.
But they're not
They're
extra,
not
right? They're
extra.
not
They're not,
extra.
oh, I have to do my physical therapy work, because a lot of people think of physical therapy as separate from your training, and really it should be your training should be a continuation of your PT. And if you have certain exercises that you know really help, you keep them in. You keep them in. So that's you're smart to do that, because most people would just abandon those
Well, I really
exercises.
appreciate my knees, and I've really come to know my body really well. That's one great thing about lifting. You really
Absolutely.
get to know your body. And I want to preserve it as long as I can. I may not live a long life, but the
Yes.
life I live, I want it, to be healthy and strong. And it's great.
Yeah, and I think that the fact that you are back in osteopenia, because I want to
Okay.
go back to the desk at and the fact that you're back in osteopenia means that your osteoporosis diagnosis was not that bad. Because if you were able to reverse it and take it back to osteopenia, you
I
were right
was,
on the
I was
borderline.
right
You're
on the
right,
borderline.
and that's important. That's important. Also, your age is a big factor. So
I'm 71 now.
you're 70 years old, 71 now. You're 71 now, and you've been lifting for 6 years. So when you were diagnosed in 2018, okay, do the math. How old were you then?
Yeah,
You
I
were
was
in your
like
60s.
66 or something.
You're in your
Yeah.
60s, right? So you had osteopenia, then you had osteoporosis, now you're back to osteopenia. You're reversing, you're moving in the right direction, which is backwards, getting close to that normal zero and then out of the
Right. Yeah, yeah,
negative
right.
territory. Your age matters. I think the younger you are, so even like 60s, or even like at your age 71, it's easier. I see a lot of my younger women who are in their late 50s, early 60s reverse faster than when you get, obviously the older you get,
Sure,
the
right.
harder it gets. Harder it gets. And yeah, taking medicine is just taking more
You know
medicine.
what
Like,
it
why
is?
would you want to take more medicine? And the stomach issue I've heard is pretty
It's also
prevalent among
lazy. It
people who
makes you
take that.
lazy because you think, oh, okay, I'll take the med. Because my sister, for instance, recently got diagnosed and she's a real couch potato. I can't get her to move. So she was like, oh, yeah, I'll take the medicine. Oh, man, I'll do anything. I'll take the medicine so I don't have to move.
Right. But I know it bothered another client of mine who was started to take it and then stopped. And she's late 50s, and she did incredibly well in just not even a year with her scan, going from like I think it was her spine scan, just reversed it, and it was just, and then the plus
That's
7%
amazing.
increase. It
Yeah.
was ridiculous how fast she did it. But so it doesn't take much. I mean, the squatting, the deadlifting, the pressing that we do, you don't have to go that heavy. I mean, when we say heavy lifting, what we mean more than 5 pounds, right? We mean more than 10 pounds. We mean more than what your bag weighs, what your grocery bag weighs, what your
Yeah.
grandson weighs, right? That's what we're talking about. And the only way to help build that bone density is to progressively overload. But when we say overload, we mean weights, we mean reps, we mean sets, whatever that is. So when we say heavy lifting, we're just talking about, you've got to push your body. You've got to push beyond that comfortable
Right.
range of moving, right? Because it's uncomfortable. I mean, life is kind of uncomfortable when you're picking things up that are heavy. But if you're picking heavier things up at the gym, those heavy things at home don't feel as cumbersome. They don't feel as heavy as they
It,
used to. I mean, you
it's
hear it
also
all the
very
time.
personal because what's heavy for you may not be heavy for me, or what's heavy for me. So
Right.
when the word heavy is very loaded. It's just, that's a nice thing about, the lifting also. It's very personal. It's you, in other words, you have a baseline and you work from that baseline. You want to compare yourself to someone else, that's your business. But at the same time, nobody has to know. You can keep your number secret if you're worried about it or you want to brag. But it's again, it's very personal. So you establish your baseline and you go from there. And so, heavy is just it's just this nebulous word. What does that mean? Heavy.
And that's the issue. I think a lot of people think of when they hear the word heavy, they're thinking of a 500-pound deadlift, and that's just ridiculous. Unfortunately, that's what
Right.
people hear. They think they
Well,
have to
the
do.
image is this
You
big
know,
bro, with muscles like
right,
Popeye, and the bar is bending
right.
because the weights are so heavy at the end, and that's really not what it is at all.
But I haven't seen anybody that I know of at the gym who's been training and has had a scan has only made a difference in the positive direction in their
Yeah,
scan,
right.
never the negative direction. So that's, and yes, there are three parts. Like there's your spine, and then there's your hip and the total hip, and then, usually your right hip, right? And it's pretty remarkable to see that there's a positive change with everybody, and it's going to be slight. It might be slight, it might be big. Again, depends on your age, depends on your diagnosis already, like where your numbers are. But I've only seen
Yeah, I had a
positive.
17% difference, between the
Right.
osteoporosis to penia. I was like, wow, that's like
Yeah.
crazy. And so the end of this, I'm waiting till the end of this year. This is my DEXA year because it's every 2 years. So I'm waiting until like December to do it.
And I think it is fabulous if women of your age, so late, early 70s, even mid 70s, have a diagnosis, let's say, of osteopenia. I will take that
Oh,
over osteoporosis,
absolutely.
right? Because you were not lifting when you were in your 30s. You were not lifting when you were in your 40s. My mother was not lifting when she was in her 30s or 40s, or she was not lifting at my age when I was in her 50s. So the fact that she's only in osteopenia is remarkable, and she's going to have her scan in August, so
Oh,
we'll get to
okay.
see it
Yeah.
where she is. So that is better. That's a better diagnosis for me, than osteoporosis for women of the age group that are at my gym who I know have just started to train, which is why I'm, so adamant about women trying to get scans prior to age 65.
Yeah,
Like
that's
by
probably a good
50.
idea.
I think 50 is really kind of the best, is the best time, unless you have a family history of it. Then
Oh,
you should be
yeah,
getting it
right.
sooner. But I'm of the, belief, just from who I've worked with, the population I've worked with, and obviously myself as I've aged, that 50 seems to be a good place, because that's where women are starting to be either in
Oh, right.
menopause or
Yeah, that's
perimenopause,
right.
levels are dropping, right? And we're slowing down a bit. And so it's like preventive care, because there's so many women who they get a diagnosis and they see osteoporosis, and they're like, but I kickbox, I do spinning classes, I swim, I do yoga. And it's like, but none of those things are resistance
Right. I was
training.
swimming at the time. I really got into swimming. And Manny just kept yelling at me, but that's not going to help you with your resistance. And that's another reason I knew to start lifting, because I had to give up my swimming, or couldn't swim as much. Um,
Right.
so I will tell the story. I did a master class early on, and it was on a Tuesday. And Wednesday was I think I did a pressing that day. And I came into the gym. First of all, I'm not a great swimmer. Okay. I'm a beginner swimmer. And the master's class I was dying. Of course, I was the slowest one there, do 100, do 50, do the front stroke, do the back stroke, do the crazy, whatever. And it was 45. I couldn't even finish it. I mean, I was dying. Okay. But I figured you got to start somewhere, right? I was very ambitious and too stupid to be embarrassed, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I come in Wednesday morning and I can't even lift the bar. And you went, what happened to you? Because, last week I could lift and I couldn't even lift the bar. And I said, well, I went to a
What do
master's
you
swimming class.
say?
You laid into me. You said, what? You can't go swimming anymore. What's wrong with you? Just leave that bar.
I
Just
didn't
go
say that.
home,
I didn't say that. I think it was, and this is, we say this all the time about what you do outside the gym
Oh, yeah.
impacts what you do inside the gym, right? And I knew that you swam on Tuesdays. And I was like, what did you do yesterday? And you're like, well, I took a class. I was like, you did what? Oh, I took a class. It was a strokes class or something. And I went, that's why, because you always swim on
Right.
Tuesday. So I'm used to you swimming on Tuesday and coming in on Wednesday, but something happened on that
Well,
Tuesday
like I said, it
that
wasn't a
didn't,
master
and it was
class.
it was new. It
And
was something different that
it
your
was like
body had not
cardio in the
experienced
pool,
before. It laid you out, and it was more
Oh,
your
yeah,
upper
because
body.
my
Your
arms were
shoulders were
like
bent.
jelly.
Yeah. And I said, okay, you can swim, but you can't do something like that the day before a
Yeah.
training session, right? You could do it. You could do it the next
I
day,
do it
or you
on the
could do it
weekend. I try
that
to do it on a
afternoon.
Sunday morning.
But it's anything. We always think that, oh, this isn't going to impact me. I'm going to be just fine. But we don't realize like something that we haven't done that's new can certainly have an impact on us, and then will impact the next thing as a domino effect. I told you to stop swimming. I think I said,
well,
the next time don't take a class
Don't
the
do
day
that
before your
anymore. You can't do
session.
that anymore.
But it was clear that
It was
something
way
was like
off,
a
way
miss.
off. So I had to make a choice,
This is
So I obviously swimming is fun. It's great. You can do it till, you're 100. But again, it's not resistance training. So if you can do a combo, it's really nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can do other things.
yes. Wonderful. Thank you
My
very
pleasure.
much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Actually, I learned a little bit. I knew most of this, but I learned a little bit more, listening to you talk about it.
Oh
So
yeah,
that
because
was
I never
good.
told
That
you
was
about
good.
that PT telling me
No,
like
no, that's really
it's
upset me.
irreversible.
Mhm.
I don't know who that woman was, but I wanted to kiss her when she
Yeah.
said you could reverse it. Because
You didn't
no
really
one speaks
yeah.
encouragingly. They just say, "Oh, you have it. Too
No.
bad." Everything was
Yeah.
negative. Everything was
No, I think it's a very I'm not going to put words in people's mouths, but I think sometimes it's an ageist attitude on one end, and it's I guess female ageist attitude of like, well, that's you. You're a female. This is what happens to you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, right.
And wrong attitude. It's just the wrong attitude. I mean, especially that we know that there is a lot that we can do about it, and it doesn't involve just taking medicine.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to take medicine. That's the last thing you want to do. And frankly, my surgeon didn't even want to operate on my meniscus. I had to push him. But I'm glad I did. It for me it worked very well. And I'm a new person. And so I wouldn't be afraid of it. You shouldn't be afraid if you need it. Because sometimes you do,
Yes. Yeah. Now I have a couple people who are having replacements.
Yeah, like
yeah. Actually,
today, yeah, she's having her knee replaced.
Today I have to
I think that'll
check
be
in.
wonderful for her. I'm so excited for her.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
Another client's having a hip replacement in August, which is going to be good. And I think a lot of it was I think I helped.
I'm sure you did.
I think I helped encourage people.
My attraction to you was when I saw your video about the knee that you injured, that you busted during jujitsu. That was very much because Manny he discovered it. He goes, you gotta watch this. You gotta watch this.
That's right. 'Cause I had that in 2019.
Yeah, that's that was. Oh wow, that's amazing. So like you understand me. Finally somebody that it's not just talking, from a textbook or just from experience or whatever. By the way, I do see my surgeon almost every Sunday because he's a triathlete and he's always at the pool swimming, but he doesn't know me. One time I went up to him and I said, "See, I can squat." He looked at me like I was an idiot. I just leave him alone when I see him, but I see him at the pool all the time. It's just really funny.
Yep. I know. I was watching Diego was watching me deadlift last week, and he said, "Take that, Dr. Ring."
And I love my doctor. I mean, don't get me wrong; he's wonderful. I recommend him to everybody, but he got that part wrong.
Yes, he did.
Anyway.
Yes, he did. All right, wonderful. Esther, thank you very much.
Sure. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thanks for listening to 5x3 Radio with Emily and Rebecca. If you like our show and want to know more about 5x3 training, please visit us at www.5, that's F-I-V-E, the letter X, the number 3.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. To learn more about Rebecca, please visit her website, cornerstonestrengthmaryland.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week.